Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 130, and it's hard to believe, but we haven't touched on this. It's masked killer horror. I don't know what took us so long to do this. This seems to be like one of the very first.
This should have been like episode 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah,
not 130.
I think perhaps we were getting too tricky with ourselves for a long time, and then now all of a sudden we come to what most people consider to be, when you ask someone, what do you think about horror movies? They think about Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are your tried and true
Hannibal Lecter, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees,
Ghostface Killer,
Sam,
Chucky,
well, Chucky
Leatherface,
Chucky doesn't have a mask.
Candyman, but
Donnie,
I mean, these are
Donnie
slasher.
Darko, yeah.
Oh, that's right. True. Yeah, right. Matt, we're talking mask killers, not just
I was talking
slashers.
about, yeah. So I mean, all those have masks, but
Freddy doesn't have a mask.
Yeah, and I think we've sufficiently touched on many of those characters.
Yeah, we did Arbor Day before we did mask killers.
We did handicapped horror before we did mass killers.
Yeah, we did LGBT horror. We went into the deep dives because we figured that those of you who already are horror fans probably know a good bit about the slashers, but this is a celebration of the slasher.
Back in the shallow end.
Yeah.
In the cocktail pool.
That's right. Exactly. This is the comfort zone for horror fans, and we're approaching Halloween.
Yeah.
And we are going to be getting Halloween Kills coming soon. So,
what better time to make Eric's announcement today?
Absolutely. We have
tying into Halloween.
Halloween treat.
Did you catch that segue?
I totally caught that segue.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Mike. By the way, actually, we haven't done the introductions. I'm Eric Lee, and I am joined as always by
Mike Campbell
and
Liz Williams.
So the gang's all here, and actually we should say that when you talk about the scariest things, the scariest thing in the world is something called Hurricane Ida.
Oh, yeah. Pardon the sound quality, guys. I am evacuated right now in North Carolina. It is Monday, September 6th. We haven't known what day it is for a while, so it's a full week and a day after the storm hit southeast Louisiana. New Orleans is fine. Thanks you for all of our fans and people who sent messages and making sure we were all okay. There are a lot of towns in southeastern Louisiana that are not okay, but all in all, New Orleans came out good. I came out unscathed with no property damage. We're all a little mentally worse for wear since it was 16 years to the day of the Katrina anniversary. And but hey, I'm here, but I did not bring my microphone and evacuation, so I'm back on just talking through the laptop.
Yeah,
so
we're happy to have you back, Liz.
Was it really 16 years to the day, Liz?
To the day.
You're kidding. I must have missed that in the news.
That is one of those kinds of things. Circle your calendar and book some time to be in Milwaukee or something like that.
That was, I think, really what messed with most people's psyches. But,
wow, that's bananas.
Well, a Class 4 hurricane's nothing to sneeze at, too. I mean, I was watching the footage. It looked like Hurricane Ida was dead set about removing Homa from the map.
Yeah.
Right.
It blew down brick buildings. It was
right. It pushed boats under bridges.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it came in. It made landfall as a Category 4, and Katrina, I think, made landfall at maybe a 3. Katrina was because the levees failed, not because of the storm. This one, the winds were crazy, and I think they have said it's not maybe the first, but it's the second biggest one to make landfall. Like in Louisiana, at the speeds that it actually made landfall.
Yeah, I think it was still behind. I think Andrew's still the big one, the one that sort of destroyed Homestead, Florida.
But the billions and billions of dollars spent on the levees and pipe systems actually worked.
Paid off.
Worked this time.
Oh, if it didn't, oh God, that would just, it's like you question whether New Orleans is habitable,
right?
But so good on that. That was a huge relief, and it's also why there's been a bit of a delay in actually getting some of the recordings out to you. So we apologize that we haven't gotten a podcast out until now. But
to make up for it, we have an awesome announcement.
Exactly. Getting back to the original segue.
How many segues do I have to do tonight?
I don't know.
Oh my God!
Keep them up, Mike. Keep me accountable.
Yeah.
We have a new affiliate partner, and this is one of my favorite, and I think Liz also has some of their product too. But Atmos FX, that is Atmos F, letter F, letter X. And they will get your house so Halloween ready, it is insane.
Or just holiday ready.
Holiday ready. Yeah, I use it also
All
for
holidays.
I use it for the 4th of July. I use it for Christmas.
Yeah.
I use it.
They have a million packages.
I use it just when I'm bored and I want to have dinosaurs walking in my windows.
Do they have an Arbor Day package though?
I don't know.
Custom.
I think we can
Custom
make the
Arbor
request.
Day.
What
Scary Arbor Day package?
What Atmos Effects does is they make projectors that with programs to project images onto your windows, and they've got
Or onto the side of your house.
Or onto a veil in your hallway for just special effects if you're doing a haunted house for your Halloween gags and stuff. And one of my favorite things is you can actually cast them on small objects like pumpkins. I have something where I have a small projector and they have singing and talking pumpkins. So when people come up to your porch, they're animated. It's like a Disney projector.
It is super cool.
And then I have zombies, and it goes from cute like Disney ghosts to slashers running around in the background stabbing people, or bugs crawling through the walls, it is
something
you get
for
to
everyone.
You get to decide what your neighborhood's horror threshold is.
Right. So, anyways,
right.
They again, another fabulous reach out from someone who knows what we do, and they are a perfect marriage to what we like to do.
Heck yeah!
And if you
celebrate horror.
If you're curious about Atmos FX, go to our website and click on the links, and they will get you to all the Halloween gear you need. You're gonna want to start getting going now. Because we're just a couple of months out from actually needing those Halloween.
That's right. Get
projectors.
ready to scare the holy hell out of your neighbors.
Show up. More important, show up your neighbors, and you can have the coolest Halloween house on the block.
Put your neighborhood children in tears this Halloween.
Yes, to scare off the trick. If you want to scare off the trick or treaters, have the zombies crawling through your windows. That'll keep them away. So. Anyhow, that's a great new program addition with our Fangoria
very exciting
thing. Thank you to everybody who's been actually going through our Fangoria site, because it's been quite successful, and we're very happy with it. It's working. Affiliate partnerships work.
That's right.
Yep.
So, anyways, I think it's always great to find partners who evangelize what we love.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, masked killers.
Yeah. Speaking of things we
Masked
love.
killers.
Yes.
And
Another segue.
segue
Back.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Speaking of things we love and things we have been derelict at getting to, masks. Eric, tell us about the history of masks.
Well, I think. Well, back in the day.
I know.
What's the first horror movie mask?
Phantom of the Opera.
Are you certain about this? I mean, that was the 1925 Phantom of the Opera was
launching.
That was the research that I did suggested that, but I'm guessing. And if there's a horror fan out there that knows different, I mean,
I haven't found anything that predates it.
I don't think you could consider like Dear Gollum.
No.
Or maybe the masks used in Haxan, possibly like the demon masks and whatnot.
Those are costumes. It's not the purpose of the mask was to hide the horrible visage of the actual phantom.
But that was the first one I could find. Yeah, 1925.
Right, I agree.
Yeah. 1925. Okay, so correct us if we're wrong, though. I would be very curious. If there's anyone out there listening, shoot us a message, because I'd be very curious to know if there's any other films that predate 1925.
Yeah, go to www.scariestthings.com, 1T, and go to our communication link and let us know if we're wrong. Although I think that there was between Phantom of the Opera and say the 1970s, you didn't see we've had slashers.
Yeah.
Norman Bates and Peeping Tom.
Right.
And
but right around that time you had Eyes Without a Face.
Eyes Without a Face that's a
1960.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't Hopefully I didn't jump ahead there.
I've got options.
Okay. Okay.
But Eyes Without a Face is that was,
I mean, it's certainly a recognizable mask.
Right. Well, and I think the thing that the mask does is it obscures.
Right.
And for different reasons. And I think that the rationale for the mask, sometimes you want to go out and kill somebody and you don't want anybody to know who you are, so you put a mask on.
Right.
Or sometimes you're just so ugly, you got to wear a mask so that people don't freak out when they see you in public. That was Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah. But, I think the thing that makes them really scary is that our brains are so attuned to recognizing faces and analyzing them for data and ultimately empathizing with people. Like that's you. Like your brain is like from day one set up and cued to create that empathy, that human to human empathy. And then when you have a mask, when you have just a face that's emotionless, it really throws things out. And I think there's a lot of psychological conditioning there that is deep below the surface, that when you don't have that ability to interact with people and you don't have that ability to empathize with people, it gets really freaky really fast and you don't realize it. But that's, I think, what really freaks people out.
Well, I think, you're spot on there. I think there's in computer graphics, they have, it's called the uncanny valley.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
There are times when, like just recently there was a Star Wars bit where they tried to they took Mark Hamill and they de-aged him, or what was The Irishman?
Right.
Where they de-aged
Robert
De Niro and
it looked it actually looked kind of silly.
Yeah, and it's very close but not close enough.
Yeah, because your brain can still pick up on those incredibly finite and very, very subtle cues.
Yeah, and I think when people talk about the uncanny valley, what they say is that every human is hardwired to be an expert at facial recognition. Right. And then when you throw something just a little off and there's no smile, there's no even like little winks or twinkles or blinks, that can be really unsettling.
Yep.
And
the brain don't like it.
Right. So it makes for some great serial killer types, and also that it can be transformative, right? Like if you think about animistic tribal traditions,
right,
where you would put on a mask so that you're a wolf or a lion,
right,
or or an eagle or something like that.
Are we getting into that?
I know, huh?
Oh, man,
you don't know.
Okay.
So that's another thing, is like you put on a mask to become something else.
I honestly didn't.
Someone else. That's
I didn't even think about the animalistic tribal traditions mask wearing in the context of horror. I skipped right over that.
Well, it's transformative where you want to become.
There's plenty of examples of it.
It's why.
My God, there's so many examples.
It's why you do Halloween. It's like I'm Iron Man now. You become somebody else.
Eric is being Iron Man, by the way.
That's
for
right.
Halloween
I got one of those little plastic bag
costumes. Plastic costumes.
It is so. Eric is cute as a button. Yeah, cute as a button as Iron Man.
So it is. But in the I think you're not wrong in bypassing some of those animistic.
Yeah, but there's some pretty good ones.
I know of a couple for sure, and all of a sudden I'm kicking myself for not picking one. I can put it on my backup list, but
tell us what it is.
Okay, well the You're Next.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I
for
assumed
sure.
someone would have that.
Yeah.
We've talked plenty about You're Next.
Yeah,
we've talked that about a bunch, and that's
mine are pretty deep cuts.
And You're Next has made it into the top 100 horror films of all time.
And it deserves to be.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember where it is.
Yeah.
I want to say the 60s, 70s, 60s, 70s.
It's on
somewhere.
my top 25.
Is it really?
It was in my top 25 too. I think we landed in the 60s somewhere.
Holy crap!
But another one is The Farm, which I saw, and I talked about that one plenty too.
We've talked about The Farm too much.
But that was symbolism of humans dressing up like animals as representative of the feedstock turning on the farmers.
Right.
So
now are we talking the? Are we also going to be talking the ABC made-for-TV movie, The Island of Dr. Moreau, or the remake of The Island of Dr. Moreau?
No, because they actually were transformed. They were turning into animals.
I suppose that's true, but
they weren't wearing masks to pretend to be animals. So I think one of the quirks though that I find, and I bring up The Farm to emphasize a point. If you're a serial killer, why the hell? Like at a certain point, the mask is a detriment because it kills your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Right. And so it should be fairly easy, especially in the dark, to run away from someone in a mask.
Right.
Or
I may touch on that a little bit in one of my picks.
Yeah. Put a canvas bag over your head. That's not a good way to actually have. You're going to kill your sense of hearing. All your senses, your smell, your sight, your hearing. You're gonna have to have like the flip up lid so that you can check where your victims are running to, I guess.
Michael Myers does not need a flip up lid.
No, and that's one of the things he's got.
Now I'm picturing him doing
he's got some sort of a weird sixth sense radar.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's got it all.
The Google tracking device built in.
Before we jump into masks, I want to read a quote from Oscar Wilde, famed author and opium addict, who famously declared, "Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth."
Wow.
Yeah, so let's with that said, Liz, why don't we jump in with you first and you tell us a little bit about where you're at with the world of masks.
Okay, so normally I would do my number one last, but right now I'm going to do it first just because we've talked about it. And I got a little bit of a spin on it. It's a classic and one that everybody who thinks about mask killers is going to think about. And it's The Strangers from 2008.
Ah, very nice. Very nice.
It is number 2 on my top 25 list.
What?
On discariestthings.com.
I need to go back and look at your top 25 list because you're throwing some curves here.
Yeah. I love this movie. So this, of course, is from 2008. It is written and directed by Brian Bertino. And it stars Liv Tyler as Kristen and Scott Speedman as James, who are a couple that are kind of on the verge of a breakup at a vacation home that is kind of out in the country, whose night of, I don't know, maybe possibly reconnecting is disrupted by 3 masked criminals who infiltrate their home, and home invasion craziness ensues. So we've got like 3 different masks. One is this kind of burlap sack. The other one is like the other 2, like a baby face, and then there's like a doll face.
Yep.
So the guy who played the one who wears, he's just credited as the man in the mask, is an actor named, hang on, I got my notes here, Kip Weeks. And a couple years ago, streaming for the Portland Horror Film Festival, a documentary about this guy was submitted.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't think, because, it really wasn't horror, but it was really interesting that this guy, launched his film or his career on being a guy in a mask. So you never saw him. You saw his eyes, and he did have some kind of, piercing blue eyes. And then he kind of thought that he, quote unquote, like trademarked a head tilt in a mask. Like, I mean, this is not like a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson eyebrows. Like, it's like, you can't just tilt your head in a mask and think that you're not getting your due because people are not hiring you. But so the documentary went on to follow him as he would go to different conventions and things, just as the guy in the mask.
Right.
So, and then he was not hired to play the guy in the mask in The Strangers 2 pray at night. So he was pissed about that. And now he runs an eco crayon company with his wife.
What?
And has 2 kids. Yeah, like a company that makes, like, I guess, non-toxic crayons. So,
well, the kids, they're going to chew on them.
Exactly.
Well, getting back to the Oscar Wilde quote, when you put a mask on, you will know the truth. Maybe he was just destined for eco crayons.
No matter what. So, The Strangers is a story that anybody listening to this podcast has probably seen The Strangers and knows the story. But I don't even know if this show or this movie, which is just called The Man in the Mask documentary, is available anywhere. But, kind of just the fact that this actor really kind of stakes his whole claim on, I was the guy in that mask who didn't say a word.
Mask beef.
He didn't say a word. The only word that the mask people say is because you were here, and it's one of the girls who says it, so he doesn't say a word. He just cocks his head and now thinks that he just
he's entitled to
this recognition and the next part. Like, no one can fill my shoes. Like, no, they can.
That's pretty
I think
easy.
I'm going to say without even being able to name one of those films, I have a feeling there's a couple films that may have beat him to the punch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a couple hundred.
hundred. Yeah, couple hundred. But, so if you want a masked film that is scary and awesome and well done, you can't miss with The Strangers from 2008, Brian Bertino.
Sorry, Kip Weeks.
Yeah. Go buy some crayons.
Those are great masks too. It's like, you get a triple header of masks all in one setting.
Right.
Yep.
And I love those masks too because that's like the pure embodiment of not being able to sort of recognize, empathize, and connect with other human beings. And in fact, there is zero connection with them save for one line at the very end of the film.
Right, and they're there strict, and it's masks for intimidation purposes.
Right.
And the anonymity and the fear of, it's like who are they? Why are they doing this? And it's just, and they are pure chaos.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So
totally.
One of the best traditional uses of the mask as their key element,
certainly in the modern era, I think you'd argue probably that, and Sam would be probably the two most
profound
examples of mask usage in the modern era.
Right. Yeah. In modern, in the.
But prove me wrong, Eric. Prove me wrong.
Well,
prove me wrong.
Do you think 2006 is the modern era?
Well, sure.
I mean, this is 2008, so I'd say
Yeah. So I have Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Oh, right. Right.
Oh,
this would be my number one pick. I love this one.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, so we can sort of jointly talk about this one.
Yeah.
So this is written and directed by Scott Glosserman, and it's pretty much the only thing he's done. He did something called The Truth Below that nobody saw and nobody really cares about. Starring Nathan Basil as Leslie Vernon and Angela Goethals as Taylor Gentry. And this is a brilliant mockumentary of an independent documentary film crew that follows the exploits of a mass slasher serial killer, Leslie Vernon. It's a deconstruction of the slasher genre, like what Scream did, but using the documentary film as the sly medium to make all the clever references.
Right.
And funnier. It's hilarious.
It's really, and I think that the key thing here is that Leslie Vernon wears a mask because as his unmasked persona, he's not very scary looking.
Right.
No.
He's just a skinny, kind of an awkward guy. He's easy with the joke and a smile.
Right.
And but he's giving all of his trade secrets, he calls them, about how he picks his victims, and that he needs to find his anchor, his rationale, and he needs the backstory because you want to build the hype, because they actually make they open the movie talking about Haddonfield and Elm Street.
Right. It's very self-aware.
Very and they refer to them as actual serial killers, right?
Right.
Which is so you know exactly where they're coming from. And the other great thing about this for me is it's filmed in Portland.
Right.
So, and so it's like I love just watching all the references. Go, that's the Multnomah County Library.
Right.
Oh, hey, that's the restaurant that's now Lardo's.
That's right. That's right. Right on Southeast Hawthorne.
Yeah.
If you want a pork sandwich.
Yeah. Oh God, man, they got a mean pork banh mi. I'll tell you. But I think also you realize that the film crew they are in above their heads,
right?
And
but
they're totally jazzed and excited that they're in on these trade secrets. They debate the ethics of what they're doing, but they're so excited to follow along to chronicle the bloody exploits of Leslie Vernon. They cast all their moral moorings aside in favor of capturing something grisly and intimate and being on the ground firsthand watching this. Until really the setup day when he's getting ready to do it, and then they kind of go, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Right.
Maybe this isn't the best idea.
He might really be going to kill people.
And then, but it's too late because, of course, they are tied into it now.
Yep.
And now they've got targets on their backs. And, but this is after developing actually, that they show, Scott Wilson who was in The Walking Dead.
Oh, right.
Herschel.
Yeah.
From The Walking Dead. He plays a retired serial killer who's
his like mentor.
Yeah. and they go, oh God, you remember when I did this and I pulled off this trick? It's like, oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And they talk about, it's like, okay, so you got to make sure you sort the groups up so at least you have a couple of stoners and a fat kid so that they can't get away so fast. And then I use them for straight body count just to get everybody else freaked out. And you got to save the virgin for last. It's like,
my favorite is when he's like, I got to keep my fitness up. It's really hard to be like looking like you're walking when everybody else is running away. He talks about kind of the mask and like not being able to see out of it, and like it's hilarious.
Yeah, and there's a real fondness for. I actually like this meta take a little bit better than Scream because
really
the kind of the where I think that the getting it from the killer's perspective.
Yeah.
I think pretty cheeky.
Yeah.
And but watching sort of the twitchy reactions of the film crew,
right?
You could clearly tell that they wanted to know more.
Yeah.
But the more they get into it, the more they get like a little freaked out about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then of course you get Robert Englund showing up as
that's right.
as this guy Doc Halloran, who is the his what does he call him? His Ahab.
Right.
Where he's like, I need that energy. I need someone, a nemesis to work off of. The whole and so that is straight up Dr. Loomis, right?
Right.
From Halloween, and I think it's all so cleverly done. So, Liz, what's your favorite sort of overall take of Leslie Vernon?
It's one of the funniest horror comedies that I've ever seen.
And it is a lot. It is a lot more funny than I think people give it credit for.
It really is. And then, so it's going in that mockumentary style until then it kind of changes and becomes just a full-on slasher flick. And that's kind of when the film crew realizes, oh, wait. Yeah, we're in. Oh, wait. Another cool thing is, and I remember hearing about this and have just looked it up, and it seems like you can get some of these. They had a campaign for comic books called Before the Mask, kind of more about the story and things like that. So it looks like you can get some comic books at vernonsfarmhouse.com, which I may have to check out. I just love it. I think it's super funny, super creative. I remember seeing it probably in 2006 or 2007. I think it was probably one of those straight to DVDs.
Right.
And Wayne and I both just cracked up. I mean, the scene where he's saying, like, I have to work on, I got to stay in shape, I got to look like I'm walking when everybody else is walking, and I'm going to catch them. And I was just like, oh my God, totally. Every serial killer movie, Jason, Michael Myers, you're like, how are you not running? How are you not getting away from him? You are running, and this guy is
Just walking.
So just that kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff that they really get that some of those other things miss. You can tell that they love the movies and had a great time, and I think it's great.
Yeah,
love this.
It's a form of show us, don't tell us the tropes.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So. And it's on Shudder, so you can stream it on Shudder.
Yep.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, it's several services, so you can. I think it's also on Epix and I think on Amazon. If you're Amazon Prime, it's free.
Yeah.
So it is a slightly underground, but I think well respected.
Yeah.
I think people know about Leslie Vernon. So I think
the mask is creepy too. His mask, it's
kind of weird, and he's got the hillbilly overalls thing.
Yeah.
It's all for a look. I mean, you realize that he's sort of realizing that he has a role to play, and that he gets his game face on like a football player.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. He's really getting dressed for his part.
All right, Mike, what's your entry?
All right, my first film is a very interesting film that I immediately dumped into the Hot Topic category, much like I did a film Liz and I talked about when we talked about our Halloween episode, which was Houses That October Built, because it has a very, very similar look and a very, very similar mask. I immediately dumped it into that Hot Topic straight-to-video category, and I said, I will never see this film. But when I started researching masks, and I saw this is a 2009 American slasher film.
Another modern one.
Yeah, another modern one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Directed by Dave Parker, and this is The Hills Run Red.
I had this on my list of wanted to see, but was too cheap to rent it. Interesting to hear.
It is surprisingly very, very good. And if you look at the poster, and if you look at the mask, it is like parked firmly in a 2009 headspace where you just go, "Oh yeah, this looks like this should be at a Hot Topic, right? This is like teenage."
Oh, literally Hot Topic. The
Hot
retail.
Topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Not a Hot Topic on my part, but a Hot Topic. The retail. This just looks
100%
teenage scare fare, but it is not. This involves a film sort of within a film. Tyler, the main character, plays a sort of film obsessed nerd who is trying to find a horror film that was made in the I think if I recall correctly, it was in like late 70s, early 80s. So it's like a sort of a Hills Have Eyes meets I Spit on Your Grave meets Cannibal Holocaust, and the horror film is called The Hills Run Red. Not to be confused with the 1966 spaghetti western, The Hills Run Red,
or the recent zombie movie, The Sands Run Red,
or
the Stains the Sands Red.
Yeah. A lot of red. Yeah, a lot of running, a lot of hills. But allegedly, Tyler is convinced, and as is the horror universe, that this is the scariest movie that was ever made, and it was so provocative and so horrifying, and the kills looked so real that it was banned immediately after it was filmed, and so nobody, save for a handful of people that actually went to the drive-in to see the original screening of The Hills Run Red, nobody has seen The Hills Run Red. So Tyler takes it upon himself, along with his cohorts, Serena, Lalo, and Alexa, to go find William Kincannon, who is the director of The Hills Run Red, because otherwise there is no known copy of the film, and he desperately wants to see the film. William Kincannon is played by William Sadler.
Oh, nice.
Who is in goddamn
everything.
If you look at that guy's IMDb page, he is in everything. Yeah. Most recently, he was, of course, in the great film VFW. But he has been in so many films. I mean, his IMDb page is just
The Mist.
Yeah,
all the Frank Darabont stuff.
Yeah. He's
cool.
Great actor. He's a that guy actor. Long story short, the character, or the masked character, in The Hills Run Red is Babyface. He is this. So it's sort of like. It's kind of this big, giant, dopey baby crossed with Leatherface, and it is this sort of very cracked and gnarled baby mask that is only partially covering some very, very horrible facial maladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very disturbing. It's really gruesome. Initially, again, when I looked at the poster, I said, nope, not for me. But when I got into it and I saw the character and I saw how they were using the mask, I was like, yep, this is totally for me. Tyler and the friends eventually do connect up with William Kincannon, the director of The Hills Run Red. And there is a whole lot of gore, a whole lot of torturing, a whole lot of killing. And you do learn the secret of the film. And you learn the origin of Babyface, which is intimately tied to the film. Okay. And it all comes together, I think, in a really pretty unique, if not completely gory, absolutely gory construction. Great film. Don't sleep on it. I was really surprised by it. Daryl Loomis from DVD Verdict said, The Hills Run Red is an above average horror movie that is a love affair with horror for its director. He got to make his movie, but he also got to travel back in time to make a film that, from what he feels is the golden age of the genre, late 70s, early 80s. For horror fans, this is definitely worth a rental. So, Liz, that's
okay. Cool. I will pay.
That is a direct nod to you. Yes. Daryl Loomis says, Liz Williams, go rent The Hills Run Red. All right. What is your next film, Liz?
Okay. I'm going a little bit, off the rails for this one because I am picking a documentary series about a mask killer. So I'm picking I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the HBO documentary series based on the Michelle McNamara book about the Golden State Killer, who was a mask killer.
Oh, wow.
Who committed 10 murders and 50 sexual assaults between the 70s and 80s. So terrorized for years.
I think here's a link. We knew a woman who was the victim. She got raped by that guy.
When you were
God.
When I was living in Davis, when I was a little kid.
Oh my God.
Right. And so that was,
yeah. This is tough then to watch. But so I'll Be Gone in the Dark is the book that was published by Michelle McNamara. Michelle McNamara was a true crime journalist and the wife of actor Patton Oswalt. While she was, she was his wife. She was
passed away a couple of years ago.
Passed away. She passed away in 2016, and her writing partner and Patton Oswalt finished the book for her posthumously, because not only was she just like a true crime blogger, she was seriously like an amateur, web sleuth. Mm-hmm. But the police used a lot of her things, for research. She worked with the police. She wasn't like a crazy person who was just on YouTube and they thought, she was nuts. She was incredibly into this, obsessed. It took over her life. She pretty much had an accidental overdose while doing this research and writing her book. So it was finished by Billy Jensen and Patton Oswalt. And then the series was done on HBO. So she passed away in 2018. Her book was, she passed away in 2016. And in 2018, the police caught the Golden State Killer after, from 1972. So how many years was that?
Wow.
A lot. Can't do the math.
Yeah, like a decade of terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wore a mask. He was first known as the East Area Rapist, then the original Night Stalker. She coined the phrase the Golden State Killer. So right after the book came out, he was caught, and the police, used the name Golden State Killer. They kept that, and some of the things that she was researching, helped catch this guy, Joseph D'Angelo. He's a piece of crap, and yeah.
Do they? I assume they cover that in the documentary.
Oh yeah, they do.
Him being a piece of crap.
It's a 6-episode miniseries, and it was going to come out on the book probably before they caught him, but then in 2021 they were able to do extra 7th episode covering the trial and all the victim statements, which is just it wrecks you. So there are many survivors of the attacks, obviously no survivors of the murders, but so it's a super bummer. Talk about horror, but the way it's done is fascinating. It has actual, things of the book, home video from Patton Oswalt and Michelle McNamara, her notes. Amy Ryan reads her pieces from the book. It's really fascinating. And if you're a true crime fan, which many horror fans are,
Indeed.
This is probably one of the cream of the crop in quality that you're going to get. So,
and where was it? Where was it streaming again?
HBO Max.
Oh, HBO Max. Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to give us something a little different than our standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killer.
Truly scary stuff.
Truly scary stuff.
Yeah, that was. I remember that because when I grew up in Davis,
right?
It's a college town, and it's always been considered sort of a very safe, low crime kind of a community, and that forced everybody to lock their doors because he just walked into the back
for
door.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, so he was operating between 1973 and 1986, 13 murders, 50 rapes, and 120 burglaries.
Wow, that's
California.
Prolific.
Yeah,
yeah,
and remarkable that they weren't able to catch this dude.
Yeah.
But they finally did from one of those Ancestry.com type things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I gotta watch this.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. It's fascinating, but it's also heart wrenching because a lot of survivors are on it.
Right,
but,
and it's true stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's totally it's fascinating.
Scariest things indeed.
Scariest things. Yep. Okay.
Eric.
So, mine swings to the sort of the opposite side of the pendulum, which is kind of fantastical, although it's really grim. But in addition to slasher serial killers, who else wears masks?
Superheroes.
Yes.
I knew it.
So I'm going with a 2018 film called Brightburn, which is the David Yarovsky directed and produced by James Gunn, who knows how to do gross and bloody and often funny things, but this is not a funny movie.
Right.
No, but it's good, though.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a hot take because I know that there are a lot of people who it's like, don't mess with my Superman trope. And this is the idea of what happens. It really plays almost to the letter the Kal-El Clark Kent kind of story if he came to Earth and he was kind of psychotic and messed up and was not the paragon of everything that is good and right and true.
Right.
He is this is Lex Luthor was right.
Yeah.
He may look like us, but he is here to destroy us.
Right.
Right.
And it's a very dark take on this parable. It stars Jackson Dunn as Brandon, as the young alien who looks like a human. Elizabeth Banks as Tori, who's the mother who desperately wanted a child and believed he was an angel sent from heaven.
Right.
And David Denham as Kyle, who's the dad who went, I didn't ask for this. And there are some moments where like the kid, he's kind of a recluse and a loner and a weirdo. And actually if you watch the Zack Snyder's Superman take, that his young Superman was also a kid who grew up having a difficulty learning how to work with his fellow kids.
Right.
And then he eventually rescues a bunch of his kids from a bus and becomes a local hero, but people get freaked out about him, so he leaves because he is the honorable Superman. This kid gets weird, and then when people get weirded out by him, he just gets mean.
Right.
But he will do things like when he gets agitated, he chews on forks. And then you look, and then he takes the fork out of his mouth, and it's all this mangled fork. And it's like, son, what are you doing? Wow, what? Oh no! And then he finds out that his parents have been lying to him, that he is actually an alien from outer space, and that he is a powerful thing.
Right.
And these changes that are happening in adolescence, that he's learning how to fly, and he's learning his own powers. and then he realizes now I can get what I want, and if I hit somebody, I'll just turn them into a just big Jackson Pollock painting.
Right.
And it is. Do you
think it calibrates more to the sort of sci-fi superhero or more to the horror?
It's a horror movie.
Is it really?
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say horror. It's pretty bloody.
It's a horror movie in superhero guys, right? It uses the superhero trope to do.
I mean, kind of in the same way the New Mutants is.
No, more. I mean, it's more horrific because it's a hard R.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
because wasn't the New Mutants a hard R too, or
no,
it was an R,
or
was
it
a PG-13? PG-13. Okay.
Yeah, it pushed out.
Yeah,
it was okay. That was a terrible movie.
Yeah, I know. It was on your worst of 2021.
Because
2020.
I am a fan of superhero movies and horror movies, and occasionally you get Blade, or Hellboy or something that is a nice blend. This one is far scarier and more sinister than because the other two are pretty much action movies.
Sure, yeah.
Where the monster is actually the hero. In this case, the monster is the monster,
right?
And or the hero is the monster,
right?
And he's like what he does to people. It's just it takes your breath away. And
how does he interact with the Wonder Twins?
I'll take your bucket of water. No, I don't know. There's no acknowledgement until the very end that there might be other superhero types out there, but really it's played out. That's like you're in small town Kansas,
right.
This is Smallville.
Smallville, yeah.
But it is when he turns his wrath on the community, it's dark, and he turns on his parents.
Really?
And it's just and you go, oh no, I don't like the way this is going, and it doesn't and then it steps on the accelerator.
I stayed away from this film purely because I thought it leaned in too hard to sort of the sci-fi superhero side of the equation.
It is very much a Superman story. But it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll give it a look.
Yeah. And James Gunn knows how to do a good horror movie. He's a man from Troma.
Yep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
But he also is a little bit more literate than your average Troma director producer. So I think he understands all the Superman tropes and understands all the horror tropes, and he manages to blend them into one thing.
Right.
So that's my number 2. Mike, what have you got for your number 2?
My number 2 is a film from 2001 directed by Jamie Blanks, who is the man who gave us Urban Legend from 1996. This is 2001's slasher film Valentine.
Yes!
Starring the great Denise Richards. I mean, come on. This is the first time in this podcast we've ever talked about Denise Richards.
There's a reason for that, but
it also stars a bunch of people that you... What's that, Liz?
We had Starship Troopers.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did. Actually, just recently we had Starship Troopers talking about bugs.
Creepy crawly horror.
Yeah. It also stars Katherine Heigl, who apparently they made profuse apologies after this film was released, because Katherine Heigl was like filming Roswell at the time and only had like 2.5 days to shoot all of her scenes or something crazy like that. And so they
whatever, Heigl.
Yeah, so they rushed through all of her scenes, and apparently many people were not very pleased with her performance. That said, this is actually a pretty darn fun film, and it was a film that was completely unknown to me, except for when we jumped into this, the whole concept of masked killers, and I was looking for something other than Jason or Michael, and this was definitely there. And the Valentine mask is super creepy. But
if the other one was Hot Topic, this is like Spencer's Gifts.
Also at your mall.
I like where you're going with this, Liz. I like where you're going. This is like the ultimate backhanded compliment to me, and I like it.
Oh, I love this movie. I love it. Glad you picked it.
Basically, the film involves at a junior high St. Valentine's Day dance in 1988 in San Francisco, a very creepy, dorky kid with no superpowers named Jeremy Melton, who is he's like the outcast of all outcasts. He approaches a number of very, very popular girls, 4 popular girls, to dance. They, of course, laugh at him, they scoff, they make fun of him, they ridicule him. He finally asks one young lady, Kate, who is she's sort of part of the popular group, but she's a little heavy set and she's a little dumpy. She sort of gives Jeremy a nod and says, maybe later. Well, later comes that evening. They are caught by all of the high school or the junior high jocks.
The popular kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're caught making out. Jeremy and Kate are caught making out. They, of course, Kate turns on Jeremy, accuses him of sexual impropriety, and the mean kids, of course, they publicly they strip him.
Oh, no.
They severely beat him. To the point where he ends up in a state-run mental institution. Fast forward many years later, and along the lines of Valentine's Day and all sorts of things. Not, there's no real sort of groundbreaking here. There's no real radical ideas. I mean, it is a fairly standard slasher film, but it's done in a pretty stylish and pretty smart way. The kills happen like you think they would happen. And the reason I like this film is there is a great Harper Lee-esque Boo Radley type character in Jeremy Melton. I will give that away. Jeremy Melton is not the killer, although you are led to believe throughout the course of the film that Jeremy Melton is the one. He is the Valentine killer.
He should have been the one to be able to get his revenge. But is there a legit reason for why
there is?
Okay.
There is, and you all of that unfolds, and I think in a pretty interesting and pretty unique way that kind of is somewhat prescient because it does delve a little bit into sort of sexual politics, and there's even sort of some kind of like some pre-Me Too movement nods that, as I say, this was done in 2001. So obviously that movement didn't exist in 2001. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of, I think, great and pretty interesting kills. There are definitely some very, very tense moments in the film, and it's a great mask. I mean, it's a really, really legitimately creepy mask. Though, and I think you would be hard pressed. The funny thing is, I think the really funny thing about this mask is that it doesn't show up on a lot of masks lists. Like if you go to Ranker, if you go to if you go to Vox, if you go to these sites that have put together these list of mask characters, it doesn't show up on a lot of them. I had to sort of dig deep for this one, and I'm so glad I did because it was a really, really fun slasher film of the kind you don't really get anymore.
Although you know what it reminds me of?
Spencer's Gifts.
Slaughter High.
Oh, yeah. Slaughter High. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And where it was
it's got a lot of that.
The nerdy kid.
For sure.
Where Slaughter High really it had horrible acting, and
right.
It's like, those are the beats. It's
right.
The picking on the nerdy kid, trapping him, in that case, they trapped him in the bathroom, and he comes back wearing a jester's mask, and invites all a class reunion, and he takes them all out.
Same thing, and we talked about.
This is like, if you like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all those ones, which are all fun. Valentine is definitely for you.
It's
totally
teen horror.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a great film, and it's a perfect. It's a perfect gateway film. The film earned almost $40 million on a $10 million budget.
Wow!
I have no
Yes,
I have no idea why they didn't do a Valentine 2 and 3 and 4. And in fact, the director Jamie Blanks, I mean, this guy basically did Urban Legend and Valentine. I mean, maybe he was. I don't know what his story is.
Tired of working with the teens.
Come on the podcast. We'd be happy to talk to you. But he hasn't done jack shit since this.
Huh.
So maybe he's making crayons with Kip. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. But that is my number 2 film, Valentine, 2001 slasher film.
All right.
Liz, No.
I'm done.
Liz is done. Back to Eric.
I got no backup.
So my number one is actually, when we're talking about masks, I got to go with something called Skull the Mask.
Oh, yeah.
From 2018. It's a Brazilian movie, which showed up at the Chattanooga Film Festival a couple of years ago.
Right. What did we talked about this in the context of the best films of...
It was one of mine. I think it was 2000. It was a 2018 film.
Oh, was it? Okay.
2019. I'm sorry.
2019.
It was filmed in 2018. I didn't see it until 2019, but it is now it's now available streaming on Shudder.
Right.
This is directed by Armando Fonseca and Capel Furman, starring Natalia Rodriguez as Officer Beatrice Obdias and Ivo Miller as someone called Tack Welder. Welder is a bad guy, mustache twirling bad guy. And a guy named Wilton Andrade as Manco Ramirez, and this wrestler named Rurik Jr. who plays the Skull.
Right.
So this is an ultra bloody mashup of Friday the 13th, The Terminator, and Highlander, set in the favelas in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it is a must-see for gorehounds. The movie opens with a flashback to the Amazon jungle during World War II, where a Nazi archaeology team performing a blood ritual on a pre-Columbian Incan artifact, a skull mask.
Goddamn Nazis!
But before the ritual, before they complete the ritual, it backfires in a bloody mess. The Nazis who are trying to safeguard the artifact deep in an Amazonian bunker get jumped by a guy who is a sacred protector of this mask, and he manages to set things right, kills all the Nazis, safe for a while until the current day when an archaeology team unearths the Nazi bunker, and they find this gruesome skull, like an ogre-sized skull thing, that and they realize it to be some sort of a pre-Columbian ritualistic demon thing, and so this guy, this Tack Welder fellow, is an art dealer who has been paying a high price to get these evil artifacts into his museum. And as in transport, this mask ends up in under the care of a woman archaeologist, and her girlfriend comes over and realizes kind of that she's a bit of a crypto junkie, and decides that she's going to cast a summoning spell on it to see because she wants to know more, right?
Right.
And then in the scene, she gets completely pulped up and absorbed by the skull. When she does the incantation, and the skull sits there waiting for somebody else, and the cleanup crew, the FBI, or it's not the FBI because it's Brazil, but the cops come and go, what happened here? Because there's this sloppy mess left behind by the girl who tried to do the summoning, and she exploded. and so one of the cleanup crew guys gets possessed by the skull. The skull attaches itself to his head, and he becomes this gigantic ogre-like Jason Voorhees killing machine who's now cut loose in the slums of Sao Paulo.
Right.
The officer Beatrice is on the task trying to hunt this thing down, realizing one, there's a stolen artifact involved, and that she has to go find this killing machine before he kills. He goes out there and he just starts. Kills lots of people. Just goes into a party.
He looks just massive. It's like Kane Hodder meets the Undertaker. He's just this just this massive looking weird beast thing.
He's gigantic and nasty, and his one of his attacks is that he just shoots intestines out of his body and strangles them with his intestines.
Okay.
And the whole time he's got this big skull mask over his face, and he kind of wanders into parties, and people kind of go back away from him, and then he's like. And he wrecks house.
Right.
The Highlander part is that the descendant of the guy who rescued in the Amazon, or put safely tucked away the artifact. There's a sacred order of what are the kinds of knights in Cyprus? You know the Knights of
Templar.
Yeah, he's kind of a Knights Templar kind of a guy.
Yeah.
he is assigned to retrieve the mask and tuck it away because it's it's pre-Columbian, therefore it is not Christian, and it is and it needs to be.
And there's always Nazis lurking around,
right? And including this sort of neo-Nazi guy who's currently there's all these kind of funny things going on, but so there's this collision where this guy is also he's kind of the a homeless dude as a vigilante, and nobody kind of trusts him because he's just. He's a homeless. He's It's like, what are you doing? Just he's got a sword and these kinds of things. So there's a confluence of the cop, the monster, and this
the homeless guy.
The homeless guy all trying. They're all collecting in one area. It is just bloody. It's probably NC-17.
I want to see it now. It's streaming now, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Where can you get it?
I think it's Shudder.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember you talking about this when you had first seen it for Chattanooga, and I was like, yeah, I really want to see this, and I've never really gotten around to it. But after Popcorn Frights this year, and I watched The Last Matinee, which was a Uruguayan slasher film that was super gory. I was like, man, these South Americans know how to do their gore.
Yes,
I got to get on The Mask.
And the other neat thing is that the acting is several cuts above, say, like a Friday the 13th.
Sure.
Not hard.
Sure.
But I really like the lead, Natalia Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of a role that would go to like a Bruce Willis or a Kiefer Sutherland.
Sure.
Right. She is the kind of the hard drinking, bitter cop.
Right.
Who's, having to prove herself and doesn't have support of her,
her
chief and all that kind of stuff. And so she keeps on unveiling these things. Great watch. It's the action packed and super, and it feels exotic because it's Brazil.
Right.
Super cool. Check it out. Skull the Mask.
Cool.
All right. My last film of the night is 2019 American horror film, with apologies to Liz. This is written and directed by Jordan Peele. This is Us. And the character I'm talking about is Pluto, which I didn't know Jason, the little kid, the boy in the family, was named Pluto. Okay. So that was news to me.
No, I didn't know that.
Two, I didn't know there was this whole theory floating around the internet that not only, spoiler alert, massive spoiler alert here, not only was the mom previously tethered, that Pluto was previously tethered.
Oh,
the Jason was, and
right.
a
was
lot
that on the beach scene?
Yeah.
The beach scene.
Yeah, and so a lot of people theorized that he also sort of came from because he's the only one of the characters that doesn't kill their tethered version, right? And he ends up playing with his tethered version, and they have some sort of like communication between each other. And I thought, oh well, that's really fascinating. And that mask he wears, which almost looks like a pair of underwear on his head, is creepy as hell. And to see a little kid wearing it and sort of jumping around like he does, with the strange gesticulations and whatnot, I was like, yeah, this is really creepy, and this is a great mask. And none of the masks that we've talked about have kids wearing them, and I was like, okay,
true,
perfect. So for those of you that don't know, Us is the 2019, of course, American horror film directed by Jordan Peele. It involves, from 1986, a young girl named Addie. She watches a commercial break for Hands Across America, and at night, that same night, she wanders into the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. She wanders off into a fun house where she meets her doppelganger, and the whole film plays off this sort of juxtaposition of this idea that you have a mirrored image in your life, and that there is somebody that is tethered to you. Later on in life, years later, Adelaide goes on vacation with her family, comprised of her husband, one of the great performances ever in horror history. Gabe Wilson and their children Zora, and of course Jason. Jason is the young boy in the family, and his doppelganger, or his tethered doppelganger, is Pluto. Look up. You'll see when we do the write-up for this, or if you're listening to the podcast and you go to the site, you will see a mask or a picture of Pluto / Jason, and it is really creepy. And I think it's really effective. And I did also have opportunity to rewatch. I actually purchased the 4K version of Us because I now have a 4K DVD player and a 4K television, and I was like, I want to see how good this looks, and it looks so good. But interestingly, in the DVD commentary, Jordan Peele rather kind of puts to bed this idea that Jason and Pluto were previously tethered. He's like, no, that's okay. It's just
this is a creepy mask. I 100% forgot about this.
Yeah, because what's that?
They all wear them, or just him?
No, just him.
Just him. Everybody else has like very off-putting and weird stares and strange, as I say, strange gesticulations.
It asked a lot of the actors to play the same character and their dark mirror variant.
Yeah. And
you can get a Funko Pop of him.
Oh, you can.
It's adorable.
All right. I'm on that.
You made it when you got a Funko Pop.
I'm on that. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Lupita Nyong'o did not get an Academy Award for this, to me, I think is a crying shame, because I think that was definitely the best performance of any actor or actress in 2019. Again, sorry, Liz. But
she was good. I just didn't like the movie.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, I think, her performance was great. I think he as a young kid, I have no idea how old he was. I'm guessing 10 or 11 years old. I mean, how amazing for a kid that's that age to bang out that kind of a performance and be wearing a goddamn mask half the time. That is pretty darn impressive in my book.
Well, not just that, but he has to do 2 roles.
Right. The actor's name is Tim Heidecker, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yes, because Winston Duke is the dad. Elizabeth Moss is the daughter. Yeah, Tim Heidecker.
No, Elizabeth Moss, no.
She's the neighbor.
Oh, she's the neighbor. Yeah. Sorry. I can't remember. Tim Heidecker's he's not the.
No,
that's the
white dude.
That's the white dude, yes, who he gets it.
He has an unfortunate end. Yeah.
All right, let's go down our list here as we wrap up for the evening, for the day, for the time. All right. Eric, what was on your list of best masked movies of all time?
My number 3 also happens to be Liz's number 1, which is Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon from 2006.
Yep.
My number 2 is Brightburn from 2018, filmed by David Yarovsky. And then my number 1 is Skull the Mask, 2018 gory movie, directed by Armando Fonseca and Capel Furman.
Liz, what about you?
Okay. I had 2008's The Strangers, directed by Brian Bertino. I had the HBO series I'll Be Gone in the Dark, based on the book by Michelle McNamara. And as Eric said, my number 1 was Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, directed by Scott Glosserman.
All right. Mike. Mine was the 2009 American slasher film Hills Run Red, brought to you by Hot Topic. Then I moved over to the 2001 slasher film Valentine, brought to you by Spencer's Gifts. And then I closed out with the 2019 American horror film directed by Jordan Peele, Us, brought to you by Funko Pops.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask you guys.
Hey, sponsors, if you're listening, we'll take any of you.
Funko, come on board.
Funko, Spencer's Gifts, and Hot Topic.
So we didn't touch on the real classic masks. Do you have a favorite, Mike, of the?
Oh, definitely Michael Myers, like without a doubt. Like,
so yours is Michael Myers,
and I feel like we've talked about Michael Myers aplenty on this podcast.
You don't need to explain what Michael. Yeah. So Liz, do you have a favorite of the traditionals?
Of the traditionals,
The
probably Leatherface.
Yep, that's mine too. Mine is Leatherface also.
Yeah.
Just how disturbing it is.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I think it is interesting. I mean, there's you just Google it, but there are a number of different sites that show you sort of a history or the evolution of the Michael Myers mask too, right? I mean, that's
Shatner mask.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like in the same way that Jason Voorhees and the hockey mask has evolved over the years.
Well, yeah, and the fact that I think the first time you see him, he's got a burlap sack.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and before we let you all go, I have one sort of an announcement for our local Portland folks is that come see us live at Rose City Comic-Con, where we will be doing the greatest movie monster of all time tournament. And
none of the things we've talked about tonight made that list.
Yeah, because you know what?
Because they're not
monsters. Technically, they're people.
Although people in masks.
The mask sounds like a monster.
The mask is he would have, but it's too new to put on that on our roster. But you can find it will be there at 5:00 on Saturday night at the Portland Convention Center. Bring your vaccination card and a mask, and come join us. We are
Saturday, September 11th.
September the 11th, exactly. That's ominous. But anyways, it's this will be a real treat for us to do one of our. We're doing a championship bracket, and it'd be lots of interaction between us and our fans. We'd love to see you there. So swing on by in the convention hall. We'll have you'll get a take home program as well. It'll be cool.
And there'll be stickers and buttons and all sorts of cool stuff kicking around.
And you get to see me and Mike. Liz is too far away.
I will not be there. Sorry, guys.
Maybe some other year. Maybe
next year.
We'll take it on the road, and maybe who knows? Maybe Overlook will let us do a presentation at their site. You never know.
All right,
heck yeah.
Liz, do you got a tagline to take us out of here?
Oh, let's see. I do have a tagline. I have a tagline from Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and it is, Jason, Freddy, Myers, we all need someone to look up to.
Nice. I love Leslie Vernon.